turn it to you guys. On three. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you, Magnus!
Yay! Alright. So now, in general, I'm supposed to tell you what it's like, what happened, and what it's like now. And I just want to say earlier, the talk with you ladies was awesome. I got to teach a class from 3 to 4, and I was given the opportunity, and we talked a little bit about nutrition. We talked about just some different stuff that comes up in recovery, and I think it went very well. I'm so glad that God used me as a mouthpiece, I think, to help some people, and I'm just really grateful that I had that opportunity to share with you girls today. I do sometimes get a little bit nervous, and I'll try to get that out of the way, but you know, I got to a point where, you know, I'm an addict and alcoholic. I got to a point where drugs and alcohol no longer did what they used to do for me. And what that is they used to make me feel like a part of, and it made me feel like I could get stuff done. I felt normal. I felt good. And I could clean house, I could take the kids wherever, I could be a part of, I could go out with my family, enjoy myself, but I had to be high. I had to be high to do that. And but it got to a point where, you know, it just took more and more and more of the alcohol and drugs to get the same effect that I used to get from just a little bit. And it was starting to tear my body apart, and it was starting to tear my family apart. Because I started doing shady things that I thought I would never do to get my drugs, and I was just spiraling out of control. And I really believed, like some people say, they had to be convinced that they were, and they had a problem, you know, believing that they were alcoholic or addict. But I think I knew deep down that I was, but I didn't know how. I didn't believe I could stop, and I didn't know how to. And, you know, I felt very, very hopeless. Looking back now, I've been in the program for about 6 years. By the grace of God, I've been clean and sober for that long. I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot about why things happened to me that really hurt me. I've learned that there's purpose in everything I've been through and that I am going through. I've learned that my addiction and alcoholism is not a mistake, that it's a gift. I don't always, sometimes I have crabby days, and I don't always want to look at it like that. And I want to kind of kick the sand with my feet, and I want to put my hands up in the air. But really, when it all boils down to it, my alcoholism is a gift, because I've become, I like who I see in the mirror today. And a while back, I couldn't say that. I was very broken, I was hurt, and I knew deep down, when you looked at me, that you were going to see some of the awful things that I was, and that you didn't love me. And I felt like my family didn't really love me. And I looked at some of the stuff I did, and I thought to myself, how could anybody love me? You know? And I just started questioning everything. And I really believe at that time, you know, I love my family. I had 2 small boys in diapers, and I thought, well, what's going to happen to them? You know, is this going to happen to them? And, you know, there was a whirlwind of emotions going on in my head. And I just felt so, so broken. And the only thing that would take that pain away was just another fix of my drug. And it would, for a short time, take it away. And I would feel normal and think, okay, it's going to be all right, I can do it. But then it would just always spiral out of control again. So really, I look back and see now that God used the alcohol and drugs to bring me to a point where I would have to look at myself and learn about myself and learn who I am, and to become the person that I am today for my family and for my children. Because ultimately, I always wanted to, you know, I just wanted not to hurt, you know, and I'm still working with my sponsor. I have a sponsor, and I should have mentioned this before. I have a home group that's in Fuquay, and I go there on Sunday nights from 6 to 7. They have it's actually from 7 to 8. They have a beginner's meeting and a big book study, and then on Thursday nights they have a speaker meeting. That's my home group. It's been my home group for the past 6 years, and I have a sponsor from there. She's been my sponsor for about 4 or 5 years, and I really highly believe in sponsorship and home group. I was taught that. It took a lot for me to start taking suggestions. You know, I had to really be hurting, and I had to have the Spirit of God keep prodding me, because that's usually what would happen. That voice would just keep on prodding me, saying, this is what you need to do. And so eventually I felt that voice telling me I needed to get a home group and actually reach out and do the sponsorship thing. And I was so very stubborn when I got in here. And I still can be on days where I get grumpy or whatnot. But I'm a whole lot better, I believe, at praying today than I was when I first got here. God's helped me to understand a little bit more about prayer and what He wants me to do. So I'm the middle girl of, I have a younger sister and an older sister. And my mother and my father, when I was young, divorced. And I always, for some reason, when I was young, I always had a very, very strong attachment to my father. And I always saw my mama treating my father in a bad way. And my father hurt my mom very bad when I was younger. He would leave with other women. He drank. He would do things that really hurt my mom. And my mom really loved my dad. But I would always run to my dad. And I think it hurt my mom, and my mom was very aggravated because she knew how bad it hurt me. Because my dad would promise me he would come to see me when I was young, and I would wait in the window, and I would wait, and I would wait, and I would wait, and he would never show up. And I would cry, and my mom would see it, and it broke her heart. And I can only imagine if it was my children, I would do the same thing if it was their father. So my mom, I think my mom for a while really hated my dad, and but my dad had this alcoholism disease too. And by the grace of God, he's also sober, and him and my mom have reconciled. I have reconciled with him. And I've just seen a lot of things just over the past few years that I've been clean and sober. I've seen a lot of things restored, relationships bettered, and I always thought it was what was happening around me, but I think it's also what was happening inside of me that had a lot to do with it too. And I remember, you might be here and you might be thinking, I hate speaker meetings. I used to say I hate speaker meetings. Like, I hate to sit and listen to somebody else speak. I used to want to be at the discussion meetings where I could sit, and I like to share, you know. And so, like, I would think, oh, it's a speaker meeting, and I'll have to sit and listen to somebody speak, you know. And I've had to learn to, the AA program has taught me that sometimes I have to sit through things that I don't necessarily want to, but I've learned that I can always learn from whatever situation I'm put in. There's something that I'm going to get out of it, whether I think so or not. And this disease is really cunning, baffling, and powerful, like the book talks about, because I struggled when I came in the rooms at AA. I knew I would look at you and I would tell you, I know it all. I already know it all. I know it, you know. I know what's best for me, and deep down I felt, and I had another guy from my home group share about this, and he said that, and I could relate to this. He said he felt like a little bit like a uniqueness and he felt like the world kind of owed him something because of what he had been through. And I kind of felt like that too for a little while. So, but I had to let the love of God work on my heart and realize that, you know, there's a lot of other people just like me in the rooms. Once I started sitting and listening to people's stories and being around, God's Spirit would touch on other people's. I don't know if anyone else has experienced this, and probably have. Like, I have a very sensitive spirit, and I can be in a room with somebody, and God can whisper to me, that person right there, He can whisper what you're going through, and it's an amazing thing. And I'm able to minister with my spirit to yours. And I think I've had it happen to me too, where someone's done that for me. And I just think that just the program's amazing. The God of my understanding that I've met through the program's amazing. And to know that He works through me to do things, to do good and to do His will. You know, I'm excited about what He has in the future. I believe that this life is just a stepping stone to what's to come. That's my personal belief. I have been through some pretty horrible things, and I've heard some stuff that you girls have talked about too, and I know you girls and guys have been through some horrible stuff too. And I was made aware when I prayed that you know, that God doesn't like it when I hurt, but if it's to help me and to get me to where I need to be, He'll allow me to hurt. And I didn't like to hear that at first. One thing that really helped me a lot too was that sometimes happiness is not always the goal for me, and that was really hard. I read the Daily Reflections, and it said some days sometimes I'm not gonna be happy, or I'm not gonna necessarily feel a certain way, and it's okay. You know, it is okay to feel and have a bad day. There's some crazy stuff that happens, especially when you get clean and sober. Usually that's when some stuff can hit the fan, and it can get really crazy. But yeah, the uniqueness thing stuck hard with me. For the first year or two, I felt the squirrels were running, and I thought to myself, if you knew how crazy I was, you would call the Holly Hill and you'd have me put in probably. Because that's how crazy my squirrels were going. And sometimes I really kind of felt like I wanted to jump out of my skin. And I thought to myself, and then the next minute I would take a deep breath and think, I'm going to make it. And I'd have this girls around me hugging me, girls, guys, like, you're going to make it, you're going to be, like, I can do this, I can do this. And then, you know, the next day I'd be like, okay, the squirrels are going again, and I'm going to go crazy. But that does, I will tell you, for me, that got better. And I did start to believe. I think that there's something that happens. I know for me, like with each day I went through the steps, and I keep working the steps for me, I feel like I get stronger, and I feel like my faith grows. And I feel like the experiences help me grow closer to God. And it's I'm thankful for that. Because there was a time where I was scared, and I didn't know if, like I told you in the beginning, I didn't know if God cared. And I really felt like I was afraid. And then I went through a phase where I didn't know, I felt like maybe God cared, but I don't know if He has control or not. And that was scary. But through the past 6 years, though, I've been reassured through things that's happened to me, and just through being able to get back up through certain things I've gone through angels showing up in my life. I've seen them in your faces, and that God does care, and that He's looking out for me, and He does want me to be happy, and He does want me to be healthy, and I can have those things despite what the disease of alcoholism has done to me. I'm also thankful, you know, it was really hard the first year or two, and sometimes, today I'm at peace with myself, but it was really difficult for me very difficult for me to look at what I had done to some of the people who really loved me. And the disease of alcoholism, what it had done um, to and caused people around me. That was really difficult the first year or two, because I felt a lot of guilt, and I felt a lot of remorse, and I felt really bad for the pain I had put people through, and I felt like sometimes even that, you know, I feel like people were kind of forced to love me, and I hated that. And I'm thankful for my husband. I have a wonderful husband at home who is a wonderful companion. He, you know, he did things for me when I couldn't. You know, my kids were in diapers, like I said, and I could not take care of them. You know, my addiction had me, and the only thing that I was worried about was me. You know, was me. As sad as it is, was me. And my addiction was so strong that it had me thinking that I was really the most important thing, and that everything else was like falling apart. You know. And I'd have brief moments of reality checks, and like, you know, with one time my youngest son, Skylar, he was outside in his diaper, because occasionally the boys would roam around in their diapers out where they wanted to, out in the yard, out in the road sometimes. You know, it's by grace of God angels were looking after them, because I wasn't. And Skylar stepped in. We had a hot coal fire. We had a bonfire, and he came in screaming. And his little tiny toddler. He had stepped in the coals were. He kicked the coals, but they were still burning. So he burned his foot, and just hearing him scream, and just as a mother, it was like a reality to my soul. It just struck a nerve in me. Like, this is not okay. You know, this is not okay. And in another instance, my son got his fingers caught in the door of my van. I didn't know he was crying because he was stuck, and I couldn't help him. And so I had to have the next door neighbor came over and found him with his fingers stuck in the door. And it was just awful. I live with that today. I live with those things today. And I know that they forgive me. I know they do, and I know they love me, but I still remember that stuff. And when I think about those things like that, I don't want to go back to that person that I was. I don't want to go back to that. And as cruel as it sounds, you know, those things that happened to them, you know, I think that it could have probably been a whole lot worse had not my higher power been orchestrating what he did. I'm just really glad that they didn't get killed or hurt, or, you know. I've had friends talk about how they've actually, you know, I've had a couple of friends from my home group where they've had to sit in a meeting where they actually wrecked a car and killed another significant other's loved one. And you know, I can't imagine. You know, I have it really hard, but I can't imagine something like that. And so yeah, this disease is really real. I hear about people passing away all the time. And you know, I know that the opiates and the heroin's out there too. I've heard of the epidemic out there. Thank you, sweetheart. The heroin epidemic is really bad out there too, and I pray for people, and I feel like I've been given a miracle being alive here and being sober. And just getting sober, and I'm sure you girls and gals and men can relate, is really difficult. It's really difficult, and it's hard. And I actually thought that there was a little bit of time that I thought that God was being mean to me, and that He was actually punishing me, and that's why He wanted me to be sober, is because He wanted that living was my punishment. Living with this disease is my punishment. But I found that to be not true. I found that I'm a beacon to people. He has put me in a place to where I can be a beacon And I've seen the beacon in you girls' eyes too, and some men in the program and women. And today my life is amazing. It's not all rainbows, but I have a joy. Had I not been, and me and another lady were talking about this, had I not been through the things that I've been through, I don't think my youngest kids saw me sober up, and they saw the power of God in my life. Had I not been through these things, I don't think that my kids would have quite a relationship with God they have today. And I do believe that life's storms is going to require me to lean in faith on a higher power and have a relationship with Him. And if I don't have that, I believe that I would sink. And I believe that that's why things happen to me. My boys believe in God. They believe in God, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for God's presence, and I'm grateful for His plan. I'm grateful for His provision. Supper tonight was wonderful. If you were in the kitchen, raise your hand. Kitchen ladies, thank you. Thank you. And everybody in here that's got a job, I mean, you all have a job. And I was telling the ladies, every job is important. And I love the way that God's will has worked in my life and how He's shown me this program and going through the addiction and alcohol problem. He's shown me, through the trials I've been through, He's shown me my worth. And He's shown me that I am worthy. There's nothing I could do or not do to make me any more worthy for Him to love me, and I'm grateful for that. And He's shown me that what I do is important, and who I am is important, and that no calling or job or anything it can be weighed as more important than another one. We're all important in His plan, and we all have a purpose. And I know a lot of you ladies. I've been coming here for probably about 6 years. I come on Friday nights. I have been doing Zumba the past 3 or 4 months, and I enjoy it so much. And just those rides to and from the meetings, just so great. I like talking to you girls and y'all laughing, telling me about what's going on during the week, and it's just a really bright spot, But the first year, if I would have had it my way, I wouldn't be here probably, and I wouldn't have devoted my Friday night to doing this. It was my higher power kicking me in the rear end and making me do things that I didn't necessarily want to do at first. I didn't want to give up a Friday night because I was so selfish. I didn't realize what I had and what I didn't have. I thought, oh, well, Friday nights, like, that's my family's at home and everybody. I'm like, you want me to go across, like, to Durham or Raleigh and do, and I was so self-centered, and I didn't understand. And of course, how would my boys get along without me and my husband? Because I'm just, I have to be there. And I had to learn that, God puts angels around my loved ones who they need. I need to take care of my sobriety. And one of the girls reached out to me at one of the meetings and asked me, so never be afraid to reach out to a network and ask somebody for their number or something. What started all this off is a girl from the Healing Place, and I can't remember who exactly it was, but she said, what do you do on Friday nights? And it sparked this question, what do I do on Friday nights? Well, at first, I wanted to shut down, like, oh, you want me to devote my Friday nights? And it is scary because I know for me, like you would in the program, you get these little pieces of hope and joy, and you feel like someone's going to snatch them away from you. And I have had to have God help me understand that anybody who brings to me, He's going to help me make the decisions of what they're asking me. So I told her, I really don't do anything on Friday nights, and she said that she needed a ride and some other people needed a ride, so I decided to come and get them. And it just started to become a regular thing. I said, if there's a need, and I can, like Bill W. said, if someone reaches out their hand, then I can help. I've got a car, I've got a license, I need to help. So I decided to do that on Friday nights, and like I said, I'm glad I have. It's been a bright spot for me. Like I told the ladies, I've lost 100 pounds. I gained a lot of weight in sobriety, and It was about the third year. I was also a chain smoker. I've told the girls that. I chain smoked two packs, almost 3 packs a day sometimes. And I just smoked like a freight train. And it's just slowly, higher power has led me to better choices for myself, and he's helped me follow through with better choices about my health and eating. And but there was a time where he had me 100 pounds more than what I am right now, and that was his will for me to be where I was at. And people have seen the difference in how much weight I have. They've just seen God's power work in my life, and I don't think had I not had that on me like that, that weight, and that's both physical and spiritual, I don't think people would have seen that the same. So he used it to strengthen my testimony and make me, I believe, what I need to be. Because I mean, I know y'all understand that it's difficult. The program can be very difficult. It can ask of you a lot of stuff. It's stressful sometimes, which today it's gotten a lot more stressful because I take time for myself. The first 2 or 3 years I felt like crazy, like running around like a goose, like I was like nuts. And I felt like I was asked to do more than I could. I felt like I just felt like I was burdened, heavy burdened. And but God's seen fit for this year to lift that burden off of me. And as long as I can, I'm going to, take that energy and put it toward my recovery and share my message with other people. And I believe that is what I'm here to do. I believe my purpose is, like the Big Book talks about, is to find out what God's will is and to helping other people who need help around me. Because I was told there's always somebody probably that needs more, that's hurting more than I am, and that I can reach out to them and I can help them in their struggle. And if I'm in a dark place, I've been taught to try to see an opportunity. I've been taught to try to see opportunity wherever I'm at. I used to just complain. I used to be like, why am I here? What is up with this? Da 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 da. But God's taught me, April, look around and try to find the clues of what you're supposed to do here. There's always something I've got for you to do in certain spots. So that's what I try to do. And if I can't really find that, I think the Big Book talks about it, I just sit quietly. I meditate. I think it was on the board in the dinner room. You just sit quietly, meditate, and let it be, and God will eventually show you the right path. And that's been true for me in my recovery. I thought that I wouldn't ever be happy again at functions without drugs or alcohol. I thought my life was over, and I'm like, how am I ever going to be happy again? Well, that was just a lie from alcoholism, because here I am 6 years sober and clean. I think I've had the most fun I've had in a long time. And I didn't think that was possible. I thought I had to have something in me. But God's shown me that that's not true. I can have a good time, I can dance, and I can eat, and I can fellowship, and I don't have to drink or use drugs to get that, to have a good time. It has taken years, and I believe that it's going to be a lifelong process for me to get better. But I can tell that my body is getting better. My sponsor told me 10 years walking down deep in the woods. It's going to take you 10 years probably to walk back out of the woods. It's not like an overnight thing. And I'm just so grateful to know that that my higher power, how he feels about me and how he loves me, and not only that, how he loves you and my family, and knowing that that I'm in good care and my family's in good care, and that he has a plan, and my life is not just spiraling out of control, but there's a plan, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he has for my future, and also for you ladies and other ladies and gentlemen. I'm just really excited because there's been a lot of things happening, good things. And I can just thank God for that in this program, and just loving people and his hand in my life. And I think that's all I have. I want to thank whoever asked me to speak. I can't remember who it was. AJ, is she here? Asia, where are you at? You were supposed to introduce me, and I apologize.
No, that's okay. Ariel's response to you.
Yeah. And another thing, where's Brittany at? that sweetheart over there. She dolled me up tonight. So thank you, Brittany. Yeah, she took the time. I said, look, I need some help with hair and makeup, and she pulled me in there and she dolled me up, and I just want to thank her for that. It really made my night better. So I love all you ladies. I'm looking forward to Friday Zumba. Thank